The initial 53-man roster for the Green Bay Packers has just been released, and I am just going to sit here and wait for my phone call. Maybe I'll make the practice squad. Grossi Posse Packer Nation. Welcome to another episode of Packcast, the podcast where you don't have to be Packers fan, but it sure does help. I'm your host, Tom. I just wanted this roster 3 hours ago when it was supposed to come out, and now I'm doing a late video, but that's fine. Grossi. And today we are going to be doing a analysis slash breaking down of the initial 53-man roster. Emphasis on initial, as things are going to change over these next few days. Guys are going to clear waivers. They're going to try to be signed to the practice squad. You had trades going on today. Don't be surprised if the Green Bay Packers pick up some guys who were released, because there were some decently big names there in terms of safeties, maybe even Tyler Johnson from the Buccaneers, maybe, please. So we're going to talk about all that wonderful stuff and kind of break down what I got right, what I got wrong from yesterday's prediction. Before we get to that, I want to do a big shout and thank you to some brand new Patreon members. First, we got John Bressler, we got Ryan B. Bad, and Patriots Theory. A big shout out and thank you to you all. So yesterday, I put out a video that was predicting what the 53-man roster would look like. And for the most part, I did pretty good in terms of position groups in which I was 100%. QB, running back, tight end. I also was correct on inside linebacker, also all the special teams guys. And what I got wrong, I missed on about 4 or 5 guys. There weren't any shocking things to me. I know there were some people who were surprised about Jack Heflin. Honestly, the biggest surprise for me was Sean Davis. And I feel so bad for Sean Davis because really the only reason he didn't make the 53-man roster was because he has an injury. So unfortunately, he is not going to get that opportunity, but maybe he's going to wind up on the practice squad. So to break down what the 53-man roster is on offense, QB, we got Jordan Love and of course the QB1, Aaron Rodgers. No surprises there. Again, Danny Etling could potentially make the practice squad. We'll see if the Packers stash him away there if he clears waivers. Running back, I predicted yesterday that they were only going to keep 2, and that's exactly what they did. And this makes a lot of sense for me. People were saying, no, they're definitely going to keep Goodson or they might keep Taylor. But I didn't think that they were going to do that. The reason being is because Kylan Hill's on the PUP list, so he's likely to just be out for 4 weeks considering how he's been progressing. So in the interim, if they need another running back, you throw an Amari Rodgers back there. Hell, you could throw a Randall Cobb back there. I don't think they're really going to be lacking for running back help there. So they just decided to keep 2. Wide receiver, got this entire group right. They did stick with 7, except for they chose Samori Toure over Juwan Winfrey. Yesterday, I said really the only reason why Winfrey was even considered for the 53 is not only because he's been good in camp, he has been for the past couple of years, but was because Aaron Rodgers sang his praises. He said at one point, we got 87 and 88 out there, referring to Romeo Doubs and, of course, Juwan Winfrey. So just because he got that stamp of approval, I thought, oh, okay, maybe he's going to make the squad. But instead, the Green Bay Packers decided to release Juwan Winfrey. I don't even know if he's going to make the practice squad at this point because he's in his mid-20s. The Packers kind of already know what they got for him. And considering he's healthy, if he didn't make the squad this time, I don't know if he's going to make it in the future, but maybe they do just to stash him there, and maybe they'll call him up if he's needed. But Samori Toure making the squad, I know a lot of people are very happy about that. He was our most productive receiver during the preseason, and hopefully he can ball out. Speaking of this wide receiver group, we also are rolling with 3 rookie wide receivers. Romeo Doubs, who we've already seen, of course, Samori Toure, and then Christian Watson, who we have yet to see anything from, except from OTAs and limited practicing. Then tight end, this wasn't too surprising. Got this one correct. Mercedes Lewis, Robert Tonyan, Josiah DeGuara, and Tyler Davis. Again, a lot of people, and I said this yesterday, were going, why is Tyler Davis making this team? The Green Bay Packers and the way that Matt LaFleur talked about him, it just made a lot of sense. They love his upside and his athleticism. He definitely did struggle, especially against games like against the Saints, but he also turned around and had some nice practices following that game. So the Packers, they're going to see what they got. He's definitely a depth piece, but for right now, we're rolling with 4 tight ends. Then for offensive line, I predicted that they would hold 11. Instead, they had 10 to the 53, and the guy who wound up, unfortunately, drawing the short end of the stick was Caleb Jones. Now, I'm not terribly surprised here because I think it was going to be Caleb Jones or it was going to be Rasheed Walker. However, Rasheed Walker looked amazing against the Kansas City Chiefs, and I think that was just more than enough that the Packers needed to see to show that they potentially have a diamond in the rough. Caleb Jones, while he definitely has the size, which is very intimidating, I would be very happy if he cleared waivers and the Packers were able to sign him to the practice squad, because same thing what they did with Yosh Nijman. I think that size doesn't come along very often, and if they're able to just develop him from a raw talent to a potential starter, the Packers hit a home run. But I also want it to be said that this is a good problem to have. The fact that the Packers have so many potential good offensive linemen, you want that. I mean, the fact that we are just sticking with our draft picks like Sean Ryan, yes, I'm all about it. Zach Tom looks to be a stud. So the Packers' offensive line seems to be pretty deep. Yes, there's still some questions about Dave Bakhtiari and Elton Jenkins, but hopefully everybody's ready to go before the season begins. And yeah, our offensive line room is looking pretty decent. Then on the defensive line, yesterday I predicted they would keep 5. Instead, they kept 6. So the only difference being that they decided to roll with Jonathan Ford. Here, they did release Jack Heflin, which I predicted yesterday, and I thought that while he did have a very good camp and definitely he played well against the Chiefs, I also think the Packers believe that they could just stash him on the practice squad, that he will clear waivers. So they decided to roll with 6 here, and again, a lot of rotation, a lot of depth here. Outside linebacker, yesterday I predicted that they would stay with 4. Instead, they went with 5. You had them go with Preston Smith, Rashawn Gary, Tipa, you had Kingsley Enagbare, and you had Jonathan Garvin. Jonathan Garvin was the one guy I said maybe they'll let him go, maybe he'll go to the practice squad, but instead they decided to keep both, which I don't think is a bad move because they definitely needed depth there. I brought that up yesterday that could have been a position of concern, so they decided to roll with 6. Inside linebacker, no surprises there. They stuck with 4. I predicted this yesterday, and this is probably the easiest position group to predict. You had Devondre Campbell, you had Quay Walker, Chris Barnes, and Isaiah McDuffie. Again, nothing crazy there. Cornerback, I had them sticking with 6, but they decided just to roll with 5. They had Jair Alexander, Eric Stokes, Rasul Douglas. They had Keyshawn Nixon and Shamar Jean-Charles. The extra guy that I had yesterday was Keandre Thomas, but he unfortunately did not make the squad. Again, maybe potentially a practice squad guy. And then safety, no really surprises here except for Sean Davis, and that's just because of an injury. I spent a lot of time yesterday talking about how Tariq Carpenter probably could potentially take a spot over Micah Abernathy, but instead he took it over Sean Davis just because Sean Davis was injured. So our 5 safeties are Adrian Amos, Darnell Savage, Dallin Levitt, Tariq Carpenter, and Micah Abernathy, who I love Micah Abernathy's story. The guy who played in the USFL, undrafted, all that great stuff, and is now secured a 53-man roster spot. And when I was in Green Bay, just watching him practice, he popped one of the Saints players so hard. I was like, oh, okay, that's interesting. Made the diving sideline interception, of course, during the Saints game, and they might have something special in Abernathy, and I'm super excited to see him play. And for special teams, no surprises here, which is a good thing because people were concerned about Mason Crosby. Was he going to be able to be activated off the PUP list? The answer was yes, he was activated off of it today. So you had Mason Crosby, Pat O'Donnell, and Jack Coco. So looking at this squad as a whole, I really like what the Packers have assembled here. I think that there's some great depth in some positions. I think on the defensive side of the ball, just the fact that we're able to have rotation along the defensive line and we have a great secondary is just amazing. Running backs, I'm not surprised they stuck with 2 because it's probably just going to be for the first 4 weeks of the season before Kylan Hill comes back, and he will be RB3. And then taking a look at wide receiver, yeah, we have 3 untested rookies. 2 of them definitely performed well during the preseason and camp, and we'll see what Christian Watson still has to offer. The Green Bay Packers passing game might have some learning curves and bumps in the road, but overall, I think this is a really solid squad. Again, I want to emphasize that this is just an initial 53. There's guys that could be kicked off the list because the Packers decide to sign somebody else, so that will change in the coming days. We'll see what the practice squad looks like, but until then, this is our initial 53, and it looks pretty darn good. But let me know what you think down in the comments below. Any big surprises for you with the initial 53? Let me know. You can always find me at TomGrossiComedy.com or Tom Grossi Comedy, all social media you see down below. Check out podcasts on SoundCloud, iTunes, Google Play Music, Spotify, and of course YouTube. And a big shout out and thank you to all the patrons over at patreon.com/TomGrossiComedy and the YouTube members. But thank you so much for watching. I'm Tom Grossi. And as always, go Pack Go.